Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of Talking Teal. I'm Leon Cohen.
I'm Mimi Torchin.
And we have a special vlog today. First of all, we're going to have a lot of fun stuff and you have such great emails. I think that in terms of your emails, this was probably my favorite week. And it turns out that some of you like this episode more than anything, so that worked out well. And
it was
also,
a very good episode.
It was
chock
great.
full, as they say. Why do they say chock full? Oh well.
Also, today we're going to have a little bit of extra wind in our sails because we just got a great, brilliant write-up on the in the Herald Scotland and the Evening Times Scotland. So thank you so much, Scotland, for loving Talking Teal. And you're also getting geared up for your Season 4 of Wentworth launching in the UK. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, Brexit notwithstanding.
Do we know the name of the girl who wrote it?
Linda Howard, of course.
That's Linda
Howard, thank you so much for
thank you, Linda,
for liking us enough to want to write about us.
Especially in the middle of Brexit.
Yes, exactly. Well, we all need some escapism, don't we?
Yes.
Alrighty then. We also told you that we were going to have a challenge for you today, and we will. And of course, we'll only announce it in the end. Otherwise, how are we going to keep you watching?
Well, we hope that that's not what keeps you watching.
But it's going to be
fun. Otherwise, we're wasting a whole lot of time here.
It's going to be fun, and I hope you all join us in this fun game/challenge. Anyway, we'll get to it. All right, so episode 7 of Wentworth, we are officially after the half point, which means that now we're getting closer and closer to the end.
I have a lot of anxiety about this season. I think more anxiety than I've ever felt before. I start off every episode anxious. I end every episode more anxious. I anticipate the next episode with more anxiety.
I think it's because our characters have been in great danger and there's been a lot of angst, which is why I think this episode especially was touched on a lot of people's... People really liked it because there was a lot of more family, a lot more togetherness.
Some humor.
A lot of humor.
Pete McTighe really knows how to write the things we love.
Let's talk about Pete McTighe for a second. First of all, there really is, I think, in terms of funny and brilliant lines, I think this is one of my favorite episodes. I'm just going to mention a few of the lines right now. Of course, I'm sure this is your favorite of all. I can hear pants dropping a mile away or falling or whatever it was.
And I like after after a bee wins the top dog vote, she says to Allie, "Let's pop a bottle of shampoo and celebrate."
Of course, Boomer calling the Kaz's crew Adam's family, calling Sonia Minnie Mouse, and then Sonia calling Boomer Shrek.
Very funny.
Talking about Joan going glove shopping. Sonia and her little, as Sarah referred to it, pinky wiggle. Also, Sonia had some of the best lines. And I anticipate she'll have some more.
I'm so in love with Sonia.
The water smells like Vietnam. Contributing writer Sarah thinks that there's a story there, but we'll find out. Kaz throwing a shoe at Ms. Miles, one of my favorite moments.
That was hilarious.
And Boomer...
It's lucky she didn't get sent to the shoe for it.
It's because it's Ms. Miles, and she is... Boomer, after she talks to Bee, and she says, "Ta!" It's just such another Boomer thing to say.
It's so not a Boomer thing.
That's what I'm saying.
So hilarious about it.
Of course, Bee telling Kaz to shut up not once, but twice. Thank you, Bee. Been wanting to say it for a while. And I don't know if we could see it in previous episodes or if we ever saw Boomer's cell, but the idea that Boomer's cell is decorated with kittens, puppies, and cakes.
Cakes I'm not surprised about. I'm really not surprised about puppies and kittens either when you think about Boomer. I mean, I've almost forgotten she was an enforcer.
I know, right? She's turned into be such a marshmallow.
Such a marshmallow.
But also that, you know, you can write these funny, brilliant lines and then come up with the most moving things and sweet things, like Maxine calling her old body an ill-fitting suit, Bee going to the kitchen because they ran out of milk.
Ran out of milk.
Every very Bally exchange in this episode. Maxine and Boomer, of course, their conversation and their what a beautiful scene.
Beautiful. And Maxine and B had a very good scene too, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of family heart to heart, Liz and Doreen, and just a lot of things that we've been missing on this show a lot. And this is the heart of it, and this is why it's been so hard for us, because there's been so much angst and so much danger.
Such a lack of this, the family affair as it is. And I mean, of course, it's prison, and you have to have the danger, and you have to have the anxiety, because every minute of being in prison practically is like that.
And it's part of what we love, too.
You need the release.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a lot of release. And now that B has come back to herself, it also...
Wearing her hair back and the shaving underneath. And
yeah. She, it feels... I feel more strength with her. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more in charge now that B is more in charge.
No, I'm feeling more anxious about Allie now.
Yes, I'm feeling very anxious.
And I think
about
you all are.
I have to say that I love B and Allie. And I say B and Allie as opposed to Bally, because I really hate squish names. I have always hated them.
You do, Lemmy?
I think it's Leamy.
Leamy.
And yes, I do. I don't prefer Mealy. If you're going to give us a squish name.
No, but I explained to her.
Forget I don't care about the rules.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I'm not much for rules.
This episode was also, it was directed by Adrian Russell Wills, and the director of photography, cinematography, Kathy Chambers. We always point out, because we have so few cinematographers, director of photographies who are women on shows. So we love that one of our favorite shows.
Really employs a lot of women in very key behind-the-scenes roles.
And speaking of the cinematography, I love the first scene when Vera goes over to Joan to tell her that her lawyer is visiting her. I love the way they shot it with shooting Vera from underneath to make her look slightly bigger, if possible, and zooming in on Ferguson's face and on her mouth, the close-ups, the intercutting between them. Ugh.
Speaking of her face, I'm sick of Joan's face.
Oh, isn't it terrible?
Yes. She never tells the truth, even if what she's saying sounds like the truth. It's manipulation. It's a lie. She used to be such a fascinating character. I just loved watching her. I loved seeing the workings of her mind. But now she's just, when she did her crap before, it was interesting. Now it's just endless crap, endlessly irritating. And I'm just so tired of it. Every time I see her face doing one of those smug looks of hers, I really just want to slap her.
It used to be such a treat, because when we used to see her as governor and she was always composed, then those intimate moments when she would unravel, or when she would talk to herself, and when she would just a little
even when
thing that she would do with her mouth or something. Now I find it to be very monotonous. It's very much
it happens every 3 minutes.
And yes, she doesn't get...
She's the focus of the show. And I don't see how this is possible. How is it that this woman is allowed to run wild in the prison? I don't understand it. She is a psychopath. We know she's a psychopath. No one is watching her. No one is on to her. What? Except for B and Maxine, Liz. That's
Allie.
it.
Yeah.
Allie, yes, and Allie is just smart enough. She doesn't even have the history. She just knows when she smells a rat what it smells like, and it smells like Joan.
Well, we have discussed this a lot in the past, and you have mentioned it in various emails. We'll get to that as well. But we have so much more than Joan this episode, which is why we loved this episode so much. Because really, besides lurking around corners, which we'll get to that as well. Mostly it was about other things, which is, I think, one of the reasons that we love this episode so much.
Such a successful episode.
So let's talk about all that great stuff that was there. Let's start with Brittany's email. And she's saying, Cass was... just had to get my little tongue exercise this morning. While Cass remains loyal to Joan for the time being, their conversation in this episode, at the end of the episode, gave me a feeling that Joan's story is going to unravel. Cass is starting to ask questions other than, tell me what to do, Joan. And yes, the question is, as other people have pointed out, why only now? Why are you in Gen Pop? Oh, gee, how did that not give you a pause when you heard that she was the governor?
The governor.
So,
And why doesn't she fear for her life every breathing moment?
And as other people have pointed out, why shouldn't have somebody told her? I mean, Vera or Bridget or somebody should have sat down with her and explained who Joan is, what she's done, not just B, because she doesn't trust B, obviously.
No.
Yeah, again, that's like let's work around it so that the story...
That's a big hole.
Yeah. I've had a feeling this whole season that Joan may be the annual big death of the season. God, I hope not. I have mad love for the character and more for Pamela Rabe. That Joan Ferguson of Prisoner got in lots of fights. I'd like to see more of that. She says it gets her excited to see Joan get physical.
Okay, well, we know what she's like.
But she says, and very right, I just can't work out a plausible way to keep Joan in the show for much longer as it stands now. Either she has to die after her story unravels and the women get a clue again and regain their memories and turn on her and take her out, or Vera gets her moved into state when her trial is over. Either way, I can't see a logical way for Joan to go on in general population at Wentworth. Then again, this is one of the most resourceful lady villains I've seen on TV. There's a limit to how resourceful she can get and still make it plausible. So I agree. Yes. I don't know how she's going to stay.
Otherwise, it just becomes repetitive.
But I have to say, I don't see her die either.
No, because I think that she's necessary, and we love Pamela Rabe. She's an absolutely brilliant actress. But at this point,
maybe she should get a spin-off.
I would be sorry to see her go. I'm sick of her. And I never thought there would be a day that I would say that about Joan Ferguson / especially Pamela Rabe.
If there were a way to keep her incorporated in the show, but to make it plausible so that we don't have to constantly say, but this is not, no, or B, in a way that would not be so monotonous and so... a
little more subtlety.
Yeah, because right now she's turning into somewhat of a caricature, and you want to talk about the soap opera thing.
Yes, one of my least favorite soap opera tropes. Is it tropes?
Absolutely.
Yes. Is the lurking. There's always someone lurking around the corner, standing. It used to be at the payphone, the Mona Lisa on As the World Turns, just happening to be walking by, just happening to be somewhere to hear the thing that nobody was supposed to hear. It's always a villain, and it's always someone that can use it against them. And that was always, to me, so unreal. And Joan is everywhere.
For example, here we have this beautiful ballet scene, right? The first time that they are, really expressing their feelings for each other. And who's just around the corner just happens to be in the kitchen after hours? Joan Ferguson.
Did she run out of milk?
Yeah, and she's everywhere. And she's turned into, quote Julia here. I do still believe Joan is gunning for position of top dog. In some ways, I feel like she already is top dog. She basically just lounges around, creeps around a few corners, drops some words here and there to different crews, and watches them all destroy themselves.
Abuse, rape, abuse.
Or my favorite this episode, the women aren't happy. Oh no, the women aren't happy. Joan said the women aren't happy.
Ding, 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 ding.
She just sits there and whispers things, and all of a sudden people get activated. It's you know what it reminds me of? What was that movie with Leslie Nielsen and
Airplane?
Yes. Was it Airplane?
Or was it
no
Loaded Gun?
Loaded Gun with OJ, right? And OJ they had that thing where they activated people, like the Queen was activated, like they had to say something, and all of a sudden they were activated and they became murderers. This is kind of how I feel about this. This is kind of how I feel about this. Joan has her activation words that she gives people, and all of a sudden they just go and do things. So
like the Cylons, the sleeper Cylons.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Joan. Also, Julia, being in her cell drawing a picture of Allie had me thinking, was she reflecting on her daughter, thinking that she might be replacing her with Allie to fill that void, or was she thinking about if her daughter was alive, that she'd want her mom to be happy? Personally, I think that she was thinking, oh dear, the last person I drew, the last person I cared about enough to draw,
died.
Yeah, so I'm drawing
and
Allie. And she runs and she doesn't let her tell Kaz that she's switching crews because of that, because she doesn't want her to be
she
formally
wants to protect her.
associated
Exactly.
with her. Yeah, and
well, also something happened prior to that made her realize that this was not a good time.
But this was her. That was really the connecting moment when she was sitting there drawing her and looking up and seeing Debbie's,
She's a good artist.
Debbie's picture. Yeah, she is. I think I heard somewhere that Danielle was just between takes, was sitting there and
really?
just sketching something.
That. So
and
it's really her.
I think it is.
Fantastic.
If I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's Julia also said, as many of you have said, that kiss between B and Allie was much more passionate than anything that Frankie and Bridget got to do this season. What do you think?
I think it's true. I think that they played the Frankie and Bridget stuff too lightly. I think that they've made it too playful.
Well, I think that,
I'd like to see some passion between them. I'd like to see them.
I'd
like to see anything between them. But,
I think they thought that by saying puss, 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 puss about 7 times in that episode, and by throwing Bridget on the table, they thought they were... But they took away from it.
Yeah, that's not what we want to see. We want to see true emotion. We want to see heat.
Yeah,
we don't want to see two kittens wrestling in the mud.
Just the not here, not yet.
Oh.
In
so, do I have a wild hair?
Yes, on camera. Let me get that. No, but I mean, in season 3, because there was all that tension,
that unrealized passion simmering just below the surface.
There was so much going on than what we got in the first 2 episodes, and of course the fact that they never followed through on that kind of took away.
It. Exactly,
took away from that.
And I don't understand why. There's plenty of time. All you need to do is devote 5 minutes to them.
Yeah.
Or that kiss. How long did that take? Not much at all.
You know what always has amazed me, and we're very good at it. We're trained at it as lesbians, even though there are so many lesbians and lesbian relationships on television these days and television shows. We are trained at taking 2 seconds and making like 300 videos and 500 memes and collages and things from 2 seconds. So really, we don't need a lot to get us going.
It just needs to be real.
Yeah, it needs to be real.
We need to have real emotion,
and it needs to be there.
And and it really is there. They have absolutely great chemistry. I really feel the slow burn between them. I really love them together. I never thought I would, but I do.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to work.
I love Kate Jenkins.
I love her, and I fear that we're not going to have her there for long, which bums me out, and we'll get to that too, because it bums you out as well. Okay. Julia says, Danielle Cormack said something to the effect that she described the season with, there's a lot of kissing. I haven't come across that piece again, or did I imagine it? Julia, it was Libby, and she said it on our interview. Can you tell us anything about season 4?
Oh, everyone kisses.
Tell us more about that.
Well, it's all good. So now you know.
All right. She also says, what if Ferguson has Kaz try to kill B in episode 8, but it's Allie who accidentally is seriously harmed instead? I refuse to say killed because I don't want either B or Allie to die.
At this point, anything's a possibility.
Though it would be extra interesting if it would be Kaz who accidentally harms her beloved Allie.
I just don't, for someone who's so smart as Joan is.
Joan or Kaz?
No, Joan. I just can't imagine her jeopardizing the rest of her life by killing B.
Well, she seems intent on doing it, but I think
it seems ridiculous. But it seems what she should be intent on is having a good, strong case and getting the fuck out of Dodge.
I agree. Well, she already is sending Kaz to kill Niels Jasper, so once that happens, they have no case against her, so she should be able to walk, I guess. They
have no case against her except for the fact that I think they'd be able to trace it back somehow.
Well, and she knows when her lawyer tells her that somebody else is going to testify, we know that Joan is the smartest person on the planet and knows everything, so she assumes it's B, and that's why she wants to kill her, because she thinks that if she gets her killed, then her case is completely dismantled. Unless she gets caught.
Unless she gets caught killing her. Exactly.
All right, Anne Laura said. Anne Laura created memes for every one of her comments. We can't show everything, but we are going to show our favorite too. Yeah. We love when you get creative with us.
It's fantastic.
So my first reaction is a vote, whether to elect a top dog or not. I miss the good old times when they fought for it. Even Frankie can't believe it.
Exactly. I mean, at least arm wrestle.
Even Even Frankie can't believe this and is glad she wasn't there to witness it.
I didn't even think about that, Anne Laura. Really and truly, a vote?
Since when is top dog a democracy? And when Kaz is like, we want to, when she says, and she was, oh, so you're not even going to care about what the women say, you know, what the women want?
No.
Of course not. I'm top dog.
Top dog.
That means I don't have to care about anything you say. Jeez.
And really and truly, Doreen, to me, is just a bottomless well of stupidness and annoying.
Yes, everybody has been so upset with her that they like put 2 lines and they say, I don't even want to talk about her. So this is an interesting theory from Anne Laura. Listen to this. Could Stuart be, that's Jake, right? Could Stuart be Gianna's baby father, or as we like to call it, baby daddy? Or actually, I hate calling it that way, but yes. We know nothing about how Gianna got pregnant and who the father was. Maybe Stuart...
Well, I'll tell you how she got pregnant.
Oh, please don't tell me.
Okay,
I do not need those images in my head. Hello, Louise.
Hi, Louise. Anyway, she doesn't want to hear it either.
Maybe Stuart was a screw at the time where Gianna and Ferguson were. Maybe Ferguson covered Stuart for getting an inmate pregnant because she was in love with Gianna and wanted a baby and had him transferred. Although I know he said he's never worked in a women's prison before, but
like
who knows?
Nobody lies.
It's not like everyone's honest in the prison except for maybe Bridget. He could be about the same age as Gianna could have been, and it seems like he wanted to get close to Will with the work out together scene. Quite creepy, I have to say. Maybe Stuart knows about Will's involvement with Gianna's baby being taken away and wants revenge.
It's an interesting theory.
Also, the freak tried to get a letter out to Gianna's son, so it's possible it's not the last we hear about this storyline. Otherwise, why bring it back into the scenario? Stuart has to be around 40-something. He could be the father. Maybe the freak has compromising information about him. And also, just like the freak, he always seems to be where he shouldn't be and seeing and hearing things that they are not supposed to see and hear. So,
soap opera trope.
Very, very interesting theory, Anne Laura. And
it is. It's a very interesting theory.
And it's very possible. Who knows? I mean, everything you laid out here makes perfect sense. Totally possible. So keep in mind, if it does happen, Anne Laura was the first to call it out. And more about Vera. We've known her for 4 seasons now, and to me it is still not clear whether we could describe her as a straight, lesbian, or bisexual. There was this Fletch story, which went on and ended up badly. There were hints with Ferguson holding her hand during dinner. At the beginning of season 4, we see her kind of jealous of Bridget and Frankie, and now there's this whole Stuart thing. So
Jake thing. Let's call him Jake.
Let's call him Jake. And also, as many of you called out, his line of, "You are not as straight as you pretend to be." Could that be double meaning?
Well, I don't think so. I think he means it in a straight
in terms
arrow.
of the writers giving us a hint.
Maybe.
I think that this is a very good question. I always assumed that she was straight, but you know what? She is kind of... I think she just...
She may be questioning, but she sure gets her knickers in a twist every time she's around Jake.
And every time somebody pays the slightest attention to her.
Well, she's starved for attention.
Right.
She's starved for love. She got nothing but criticism from her mother. She didn't have time to have anything.
That might be the key. That it might be less about the sexuality of it and more about how starving she
affection.
is. She's very, very lonely. She has very low self-esteem. She doesn't think she really is worthy of love, which is, I think, why she's all... And, you know, now she's in this position of power and authority, and I think she really enjoys exerting it over Jake, though we see what happens with that, and we'll get to it later.
Her resolve isn't very strong.
No. I thought the freak had people on the outside, so why ask Kaz to get rid of Jesper? Very good point.
Very good point.
Very, very, very good point. Unless she has a very specific reason to want Kaz to be involved. Right.
Again, to have something on her.
Also, still Anne Laura, Not happy Libby Tanner does not appear in the credits at all when she's been here for 2 seasons. But
It's rather
new actors
outrageous.
do get credits. Yes, every time I see the credits and Libby ends up in the end credits.
It's just wrong.
It is, and she's been so underutilized.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
Because even though she's underutilized, she's still a major character.
She's almost in every episode, even if for 2 seconds.
Yes, and I think it's time to move her to the front of the show.
I think the only way that I can make sense of it is that when season 4 was in the making, the Wentworth people were still not aware enough as to what a popular character she is, and hopefully by season 5 they have already figured it out.
Well, if they keep inviting her back, hiring her back, I think that they should start acknowledging the fact that she is more than just set dressing.
I absolutely agree. And
in every way.
And speaking of which, Anne also says, and why does she have to carry files in every episode? Less folder, more shrinking.
Very good.
Okay, Sarah. Finally, it's about fucking time. They've come to the point of this bloody season, the point I've been waiting for since episode 2. The freak wants to kill B and knock down Vera. Thus the plan. Joan takes out B, Kaz takes out Jesper, and Jake is after Vera. None of this is news to those of us who've been paying attention, but good God, they've taken their bloody time getting here. We're finally on our way. Well, you know, they do need to build up the story.
Of course, you just can't go from A to Z.
Yeah.
Then there would be nothing. It would be one episode, and it would be a mini series.
And the fact
you
that
have to have the build up,
and the fact that Wentworth viewers are have such keen understanding of what goes on is just because we're ultra clever and smart.
Yes, we are.
That's all. Hooray! Vera and Bridget having a powwow about Joan again. Thank God, we need to see that. This is a vital relationship that has been ignored for too many episodes. Glad they're putting it back into play again.
I'd like to see them having a powwow about more than just Joan.
Absolutely, and for more than 2 seconds.
Exactly. There's a lot of things that they could discuss and that they need to discuss, and it wouldn't hurt for Joan to have a session or two just about herself.
Now,
not Joan. Oh my God! You see, Vera.
Regardless of whether or not Vera has a session, because I don't know if she's actually going to put herself in that position. Bridget, when Joan was in charge, made sure to get her little, observations to Joan to kind of help steer her along where she should have been steered along. Steered along. Vera is very complicated, very neurotic, very insecure, and I would expect Bridget to have some observations about her as well.
Yeah, she needs to be handled
a little bit.
Because she does fly off the handle. She's easily manipulated, even though she doesn't let on that she is. So she sort of has to handle her. Yeah,
Bridget is the only one who can really call people out on these things, and I think that she's Vera's only confidant. And whereas her relationship with Will, for example, is kind of tenuous because Will used to be her colleague and now he is underneath her, and she needs to assert her authority on him. She doesn't need to assert authority on Bridget, and so this is very much a relationship of equals.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunity there for us as the viewers to get more insight on Vera, because really I'm not figuring her out yet.
No.
There's a lot more there. Vera is a very, very interesting character.
She's very layered, and we've only scratched the surface.
And as we keep saying, Bridget is pretty much the opening and the conduit to us understanding all of these characters who very much are constantly on their guard and very shielded, and they don't let us see.
And when are we going to find out more about Bridget?
Yes, so that
we don't know
of you say that.
anything about Bridget at all except what we see, and that's very little.
Very little, and we don't see any of her private life anymore, with the exception of those 2 first episodes. We don't know anything about her past or background. We've said that.
Joan has hinted at things by opening the door to those 3 questions.
Right. And then there was never a follow-up on that, which I hope at some time we will get a follow-up.
There should be a reason for that. They were pretty pointed.
The reason at the time, as it seems to be, was to rattle Bridget and to rattle us.
Yes, but they were very, very specific, and they were odd.
Yes. And I'm very curious to know what they hold there, what kind of story they hold for us. So hopefully they will follow up on it. So many of you pointed out that Kaz was supposed to get 18 months, And all of a sudden, after telling Joan, "Oh, I'm not gonna worry about B because I'm not gonna jeopardize my short sentence and my girls being, released with time served over that," all of a sudden she gets 12 years, which is a whole lot more than 18 months.
And then the 18 months would have left, but Joan wouldn't have been on her own because Joan isn't staying there supposedly.
Yes, but 18 months versus 12 years when all that stands between them is Kaz telling Joan that she's not going to worry about B because she doesn't want to jeopardize her sentence. Now the question is, how the hell does Joan have so many connections that she manages to sway a sentencing for all these girls? If that's the case, if that's what we're supposed to conclude from that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I mean, does she also have the judge in her pocket? I mean, does she have something on everybody that has anything to do with the prison system? Well, I mean, there are things we don't know, of course, and, maybe the judge was using her for an example. Who knows? But I think it's an interesting thought that it might have something to do with Joan.
It seemed like that's what they were
all
alluding to.
roads seem to lead to Joan.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah says, and we couldn't agree more, that she's relieved to see that Sigrid Thornton is taking a much more subtle and nuanced approach to what could have been a nightmarish, over-the-top caricature. Brava. I love her.
She is so subtle. She is so funny. She's very, very smart. She's a very interesting character. She's something completely different from anybody else in the prison. And I like that she's trying to fit in her way.
Oh, but she doesn't want to blend in, does she?
But she does. She does do her bit.
The whole her taking the count of the votes.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Liz, we're going to education now. She was so set on doing her job. She's a smart cookie.
Very highly intelligent woman.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see her and Liz together because they're such a frickin' frack. I mean, they have nothing at all in common, but yet they make a very fun team.
And as some of you pointed out, this might make it a little harder for Liz to do her job because I think she kind of likes her.
I don't want her to lag on her because, first of all, she's going to catch on.
Yeah. Oh, she's way too smart.
Way too smart. She's way ahead of Liz.
And Liz is not that subtle.
No, Liz is not that smart.
And also seeing Liz and the detective, the detective basically bribing her with pastry.
Get it in writing, Liz.
And again, it's kind of like, really, is this how little this show thinks of Liz? That all you need to do is flash some
old fat pastry in front of her,
and some crying adult children, and she's like,
really,
yeah. And now also, the thing is that I think that they're making us really, really like Sonia. And when we find out how dark she really is and what she's capable of...
It's going to be quite shocking.
Yes, it's going to be really, really shocking.
Anyway,
because I have a feeling she is capable of a lot of evil.
I can see why Sigrid Thornton is acting royalty, because I just find her... But when she's in the room, she sort of draws all focus.
In her tiny little
bird-like way, yes.
She's brilliant. And again, she's very different, and she's infusing the show with like a sparkle of kind of
a little electricity and oomph. And well, she's fresh. She's
but also the fact that she brings in the humor and the cynicism, the sarcasm. Also, one of you pointed out that I think it was Jane, if I'm not mistaken, that. Liz probably gets to have some interesting conversations with her that she doesn't usually get to have with the people that she's surrounded with.
Like Doreen.
Or like Boomer, So this must be quite fun for her to have somebody new that's bringing so much intelligence and a freshness.
Yeah, really, the things they talk about must be so boring most of the time.
Also they've been there for so long together. What's there to talk about? I was relieved to see Bea defending herself in this episode and Liz defending her too, pointing out to Doreen, who should know this by now, that being a top dog is not an easy job. Also, I love seeing the family unit listening in on Bea's and Doreen's conversation and later on Doreen's conversation with Liz. Unlike last week, when everyone seemed to be in their own little worlds, this week showed the important connections everyone has with one another. Wonderful. The family is the heart of the show. Without it, the show would be unbearable. That's such a good point,
Sarah.
Sarah.
True, Sarah.
Because really, when you think about most dramas, when you think about most dramas and, shows that have the soap opera element to them rely on relationships. And
that's what it's all about.
You can't have a lot of romantic relationships in this show, which is what usually shows go for, people falling in love and all that. So here, really, it's the family, it's the bonds, it's the sisterhood, and that's why the Maxine and Boomer scene made everybody
beautiful.
Oh, everybody
just
was
what
gushing.
We want. And also, it was so beautifully written. It was so
and beautifully acted.
Beautifully written and acted. I'm telling you, Katrina Milosevic.
Yeah, can we get a please for Katrina Milosevic?
She is just amazing. She has turned out to be one of the a big part of the heart of the show. I would like to see her perhaps get a Logie nomination this year. I think that she deserves it. I think that she has turned into a stunning character.
And the way that she can be the most hilarious person and then the most heartbreaking person in the same scene.
She's kind of simple, but she's not stupid.
No, she's not stupid at all, and she is very loving towards
and
the
loyal.
And when
loyal.
Even when she goes to B and she's like, and B's like, spit it out. And she's like, well, Maxie didn't get an operation there. Do you want me to like?
She's very childlike.
I can talk to some people, and I'm not going to bash them or anything. Just just verbal offense.
Verbal offense.
Love Boomer. I can't believe it's the same character we hated so much.
No, we hated her so much in the beginning.
Sarah says Vera played some very significant cards in this episode. Absolutely. The way she talked to B, telling her that there are cracks that are showing, letting the officers off early so she can rig the vote.
Rig the vote, Vera.
Giving Jake an official warning and telling him that it was tantamount to sexual harassment.
However.
But then Vera. It's kind of like Joan. Every time you do something that I can finally say, wow, and then you put your psycho smile on, I'm like, damn, she took it away. Mm-hmm. You do all this really kick-ass stuff all throughout the episode.
And then you turn into a bowl of jelly.
You ruin it by turning to Jake and wanting to kiss him, and he was so smart to leave just before you got to do it, and now he's all smug because he knows you're in his pocket.
Mm. And, is that where he is? Yeah, I guess that's where she is.
It's close to where she wants to be.
Yeah.
And if I may point out, I have the quote right here. Jake saying to Vera, I'd hate to put you in a compromising position, and I'll take anything you can dish out. Did she think that was foreplay? That he was talking position-wise? He was talking like doggy style, and if anything you can dish out was like, give me a blowjob. What the hell?
It sounded to me like it was a threat.
It sounded to me like it was a threat too, and she completely ignored it and wanted to kiss him.
After she cited him.
Yes, after she gave him an official warning.
And
after he threatened her twice.
I don't understand that.
Vera, I'm very, very disappointed. Professionally and personally. Sarah says, I currently watch Libby and Tammy on All Saints. Their awesome friendship on that show juxtaposed to this show. I've been waiting for these two to have a legit scene together on Wentworth, and what a scene. I feel that Libby and Tammy have very similar energy, so any scene between them is going to blow the roof off, and this one, wow, more please. I personally think that it was a very, very tiny scene. Very little work was actually done. It seemed like it's more of a setup to just show how Kaz was angry and her state of mind, but we really didn't find out anything we didn't know before. Libby didn't get to say much besides tell me, you don't have, you can tell me, or something like that. She didn't really get to do a lot of drinking.
We got to see her doing her job.
In her office with the chartreuse chairs.
But there wasn't anything illuminating about it, and that seems to be a waste of time. But it did give Kaz a way to blow off some steam. Yeah,
and at least we finally see her doing some work with the women, which is what we've been saying we need to see. So, but we definitely need more. And especially in this episode, Bridget was there for like 3 scenes and 3 seconds in every one of them. Very underutilized again. Sarah's talking about how much she loved the scenes between B and Allie, and then she says, please God, don't let Allie die. How sad
Please, writers, don't let Allie die.
Exactly. How sad is it that is my immediate thought after witnessing such a perfectly romantic scene, so beautifully simple and intimate and loving, But you know what? Right now, I don't even care that the freak was there. And she then says, I refuse to let the freak keep me from enjoying these amazing moments. I think that's the problem.
Interesting statement. Yes, I think that sort of is the problem in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Is that every time you start to let your guard down and enjoy something a little bit, there comes Joan.
And not that, again, not that you don't want to keep the dangerous feeling or the ominous feeling. But first of all, why is it always Joan? Why is it always just her lurking around? I mean, it's just...
It's not realistic to me. The show is too good to rely on these kinds of cheap tactics.
Absolutely. That's to me, that is what it is. Mm-hmm. That is what it is. And that's why it upsets me on two separate levels. One, the level of the actual my ability to enjoy the show. And secondly, because intellectually and as an experienced television viewer, I expect more of the show. So it bugs me on that point.
Because we know they can deliver it.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the best writers. There's no reason to constantly fall back on this cheap trick. It's just a cheap trick.
And I think this episode, more than anything, showed that, because we were sitting there and saying, with the exception of the Joan part, we love everything about this. Mm-hmm. Everything, the vote, the conversations between the women, the Maxine and Boomer, and B and Allie, and Liz and Doreen, and Sonia, everything was perfection.
In previous seasons, we hated Joan because she was an evil bitch. But we also were fascinated by her. Now we hate her because she's just a spoiler.
Yeah, her character has been reduced.
Just a spoiler. Yeah. It's a shame. It's a waste of a great actress, a great character. You shouldn't use her so much. It's like too much salt.
Yeah.
Salt is good, but you've got to use it judiciously.
Right. Denise has a prediction about Frankie, that Frankie is going to play a major part in Ferguson's trial. Frankie is going to play some part in taking her down. And we also need to remember that Ferguson knows the truth about Frankie killing Meg Jackson. And that
I always forget about that.
Yeah, and that Denise can't help but feel that that will return to haunt Frankie. We shall see.
We shall see.
I love when you throw
very good prediction.
Very good prediction. Well, especially since we know that Frankie got her law degree while she was in prison, so it makes sense that she would be in some way, if indirectly, involved with the trial, even if it is doing something informal, that she maybe even illegal, but still because she understands the workings of law. She said, I think Vera also got a little complacent in dealing with Ferguson because she now knows that B is going to testify, and in her mind it's a done deal. The first scene between them, Vera is so smug and so confident, I thought, Vera, wipe that face off your smile.
Wipe that smirk off your...
Wipe that face off your smell.
Off your smell.
Wipe that smile off. Why is it so hard to say? Wipe that smile off your face. Because
premature, baby.
First of all, it's premature, and secondly, every time I see that, I think you might think that you're gonna poke Ferguson, but you're making her think. You're making her think. Oh, I'm gonna do something even better than you. I'm gonna wipe that smile off your face. So don't give her more ammunition, okay? She's a psychopath. Don't go there.
What I do like to see, though, is even when Vera is overconfident, when the freak throws out her best jabs at her, and she manages not to show her that she manages not to get shaken by them. She's sort of used to it by now.
She's getting better at it. And I think that shiny crown kind of gives her a little bit more spring in her step. So Denise thinks that this season will definitely end with a cliffhanger. And now we need to open the can of worms that's a cliffhanger. So first of all, Season 3 ended in the most perfect of ways, and we praised it from here on.
We couldn't wait to get back to the show. It gave us everything we wanted. We couldn't wait to start to see what the next chapter was going to be.
And we were so grateful.
Felt satisfied, grateful.
We felt that we could trust the writers to not keep us...
Exactly. It's such a nice feeling because we don't get it all that often.
And here is how we always felt about cliffhangers. there are two things that happen with the cliffhanger.
Neither of them good.
The first thing that happens is you see the cliffhanger and you get so angry that they left you hanging like that. You're like, oh, but And then the second thing that happens is a year goes by and they're like, oh, what happened? Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, it loses all of its allure, its momentum.
So you've actually heard. I mean,
yeah,
cliffhangers are there because
tune in tomorrow, not tune in 5 months.
Exactly. Somebody at some point said, "Oh, let's keep them wanting and hanging, and if we do that, then they'll definitely come back next year." But no, they'll come back next week. But they won't. If they love your show, they'll come back next year. Don't worry about it. And in fact, if you give them satisfaction, they'll say, "Oh, this is the best show ever. I'm going to definitely come back next year."
Exactly. Last year's ending was so brilliant. And just let's not have a cliffhanger, okay?
Well, I think it's already too late for this one. I think if there's a cliffhanger, there's a cliffhanger
next season.
Yeah. Well, as we said last week, some of you predicted that it would be a two-season storyline and that there will be a payoff in season 5, which is possible.
Well, it's not just a 2-season storyline. Everything is continuing.
No,
it's a
but
continuing
it's like
arc.
No, but much like season 2 and season 3 led all together to the ending of season 3, that they predicted that season 4 and season 5 that the story will really wrap up and have its rewards at the end of season 5. I personally think that
Do we know there's a season 5?
I don't think it's official yet. We're assuming. There's no reason why there shouldn't be.
It's a very popular show.
I think it's one of the most popular shows for a pay-per-view, at least. And the international
Foxtel's highest rated show.
I don't know that for certain, but I think
the premiere.
I think so. The premiere was, I think, the most viewed in Foxtel history, or something, or Soho, or whatever it is. But also, I think the show, I've heard that it was sold to 20 different countries. Yeah. It's an international phenomenon. There's no reason whatsoever to cancel it. It's a moneymaker, and what prestige it gives to Australian television. This is a top-notch show, one of the best on television ever, and it's coming from Australia. Yeah. So, but anyway, I personally think that cliffhangers are generally, at the end of a season, are generally a mistake.
Bad news.
Yeah. Doreen is driving me nuts.
Doreen,
what really bugs me is that the writers are making Doreen unlikable. But thinking about it a little more in depth, I realize that someone does have to be the one making the whole family dynamic unstable. Doreen's probation is supposed to be within a year, and I just don't see her leaving prison. I'm starting to think that they are writing Doreen this way to make her go crazy and lead to a more angry and defiant Doreen.
She's actually very good.
And I would actually...
The actress, what's her name again?
Sharina Clanton.
Sharina Clanton. She is superb in this role.
We loved her in previous
We loved her,
seasons.
and now we don't.
No.
She's really taken on this whiny role.
Well, and not only that, when she comes in, Ferguson offers her a cup of tea, and she says no, and Ferguson's like, oh, you still can't trust me. Why the hell would she trust you? In fact, she should not even be talking to you. She should not be giving you the time of day.
She should be ignoring her.
Let alone moving to her crew.
Well, she thinks she's moving to Kaz's crew, but
Ferguson is there. If Kaz trusts Ferguson, and we know that she's the whisperer, the Kaz whisperer, telling her what to do, then she should never trust her. Right, serial rapist. Just say serial rapist. That's it. I'm there. But seriously, you know how we said last week that we need to know that our characters can leave prison and we don't need to lose them? At this point, I'm happy with her leaving prison.
And that's never hearing about her again. But her life story is quite interesting.
Which is why I hope that they, instead of doing all of that stuff, I just hope that they really bring her back to the fold, to the family. I understand she misses Josh. She's very upset about the whole Nash thing, even though I think it's very big of her to want to meet Miranda. Is that her name?
I think so. Can't remember.
That's a great step forward, of course, encouraged by Liz. What would really be best if you bring back the old Doreen?
Yes, bring her back. And I don't know, can she come back from the panic button caper? That was the end. That was the final straw.
Well, I can actually kind of admire her for going against the grain for something she believes in. I also believe that
very effective, I have to say. It was a very effective scene.
I believe that the girls should be able to press the panic button, personally.
Absolutely, that's what it's there for.
Right, and like she said, Doreen said to B, the B said, if Tasha got raped, she would have come to me. But she'd
But she'd already been raped.
Exactly.
So what is the point?
Speaking of Tasha, she's now handcuffed to a bed somewhere in a psychiatric unit.
It's a shame. She was wonderful.
I guess she was a pawn, and I don't think that we'll ever see her again, which is a shame.
It's a waste. I hope she has a show somewhere that she was only able to come in for a few episodes.
Yeah,
because she's a very good actress and a very interesting character. Her vulnerability was... we got to see people's protective sides. We got to see what happens, again, to a newbie who is quite weak and unable to care for herself.
Right, as opposed to Sonia.
Right.
And again, Frankie Adams, what a wonderful actress. Beautiful to look at. Denise has an interesting thought/theory. I think Bridget and her being raped, or as Joan alluded to her being raped, will come back up. Ferguson knows that Bridget and Vera are the ones who are really trying to get her institutionalized at a psych hospital.
Mm-hmm.
As it gets closer to the trial, both Bridget and Vera could be possibly called as witnesses. And how does Ferguson deal with this? Either blackmail or death. I don't think death will come to either, so that leaves blackmailing both with something, possibly with this background story of the rape.
Well, I mean, I don't know how she could blackmail Bridget if she was raped.
I don't know what the story there is, but I think that...
Well, I hope there is a story, even if it isn't rape. I hope that there's some sort of a story, and we learn a little bit about Bridget's backstory, because she, as much as we love her, and Libby infuses her with, great warmth and life, there's still... She exists in a vacuum.
Well, she exists only with Frankie,
yes.
Really. She exists as
Frankie's lover, or as, someone who throws in a line or two.
Right.
Are you all right? Can I help you?
Right.
How are you feeling? How do you feel about that? The end.
And as someone pointed out in a previous email for a previous Talking Teal, we don't really even get to see the guards in their private lives much anymore, which we used to get a lot of.
And we needed it. You need to get out of the prison every once in a while. That's one of the things Orange is the New Black does, is at least you get to see backstory.
And how fabulous would it have been if Wentworth had Orange is the New Black's budget?
Yes. But I think that is one of the things that it does quite well, is it gives you backstory. It tells you where they came from, how they got there.
Yeah, they sometimes even do it too much for me.
Well, not for me. I like it.
No.
Otherwise, it's unrelenting. It's just so much tension and so much angst, and it's one set all the time. Now, I know they want you to feel that. Probably claustrophobia, that sense of being in prison, but we needed something a little bit more for our own satisfaction. We need to know where these women came from.
Right. Also because it just gives you...
Especially someone like Bridget.
Like when we were... episode 5, when we found out about Kaz, it gave us a whole different idea of who she is.
Exactly.
And it opened the door...
completely illuminated her character.
And changed how we felt about her. So... by the way, thank you. Several of you have answered our question about why Maxine stabbed Gary. It's because she was in the process of transitioning, and Gary decided that he wanted a male partner instead, and cut off her hair one night, and she stabbed him, I guess.
Not that makes him a male partner.
Right, exactly.
Makes him a partner with short hair. I have short hair. I'm not a male.
No, that's kind of the point. No, that's kind of the point.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Why I'm married to you? Because you're not a male.
I'm not a male, exactly. Not because I have short hair.
Happy Pride, by the way.
Happy Pride.
Heather points out, with regards to Bally, that the relationship is very different from Frigid, because both Frankie and Bridget identified as gay. There was no coming out story around there. And okay, so some of you have already claimed to be as part of the gay community, straight out of Wentworth or not so straight out of Wentworth. But I'm going to quickly jump on to Anne's email, and she points out, please remember the dynamics of prison life and what B is processing. Are her feelings genuine? Yes. Is she attracted to Allie? Yes. Is she absolutely tired, emotional, and yearning for fervent and compassionate attention? Yes. B and Allie's relationship is authentic inside the prison walls. It does not mean necessarily that B is gay or that the relationship would last in the outside world.
And she does protest, although sometimes people do protest too much. But she doesn't protest too much. She just says, I'm not gay.
But she has been sexually very repressed, and maybe that is because she never met the right person. We don't know if that's because she never opened herself up to the right gender for her, or if really she just has been with the wrong people. But I think that Allie is offering her something that's very unique, both in her world from before and in the prison world.
She's offering her unconditional love.
Yeah, and she's
completely
very,
unconditional. She's
very true. She's not. She doesn't mess around.
She doesn't
play
want
games.
anything from her except to be with her.
And I love how
and to love her.
When she says, "Everybody I care about dies," she's like, "You care about me? Forget about the other part.
The dying part." Yes, that was very sweet.
She's a very, very sweet, darling character,
her.
And Kate Jenkinson really embodies her with so much warmth, and she really just feels real.
She does. I love her strength, and I just hope that they can be together.
I think next week is going to be really telling. This is still Heather. No, I don't believe B dies, and no, I don't think that they will kill Allie, but they may hurt one of them. If they do off Allie, I'm going to be pissed. Sick of the lesbian death rolls. Also, if Allie gets hurt, it could cause Cass to team up with B if she realizes Allie really cares for B, or it could cause Cass to become even more enraged because B put her in danger. Mm-hmm. Right? That's true. You all thought that Allie dying or being hurt would be the thing that would bring Cass and B together, but actually it could set them even further apart as enemies.
It could even be worse. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's just hope it doesn't happen.
Yes, because we really don't want Allie to be hurt. Also, Heather says that she agrees with Mimi that a top dog is needed, and according to 3 people that she knows who work in the prison system, there are in fact top dogs, at least in the ones that they work in.
I can't imagine the chaos that would ensue without anybody there to keep people in line.
Well, look at what's going on with Taylor trying to be top dog. Piper. Taylor Schilling. Tyler Schilling. Taylor, whatever.
Yeah, Taylor Schilling.
Yeah.
Piper is not top dog material.
No,
because inside she's just kind of a scared little girl. She's just protecting her financial assets.
Completely stupid about it for a very intelligent character. But we're not going to go there.
No, not yet.
Okay, Nina says, and this is completely her words. It made me laugh out loud, but it's not my words. She compares Doreen to the British people who voted to leave, saying that she's like them, saying, "What does the EU do for me? For me?"
Or, what is the EU?
What is the EU? Way worse.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly,
B
should not have to remind her that everything she does for the women. She does for them. Maybe it's not for you today, but it was for you. At one time, it's for you. The next time, it's for you all collectively. Really, Doreen, you've got your head up your ass. Just yank it out.
Right. Jane actually says she thinks maybe Doreen will be the one to die this season because she's kind of in between crews. I wouldn't be surprised because Kaz has no loyalty to her at all, and she's betrayed her own crew. So she is kind of up in the air, isn't she?
Yes.
She could. She could. I mean,
I'd hate to see her die, but on the other hand, if it was between her and Allie's or B or any number of people. Maxine.
Please don't
Liz.
kill Maxine.
Liz is treading on thin ice.
That's true too. Everybody's in danger.
With
Sonia.
Sonia, who I have no doubts murdered her friend. With a smile.
Nina says that Bridget has a new office. I didn't see that, but I know that you guys watch every little detail, so you tell us, does Bridget have a new office? I don't think so.
It's not odd that those ugly chairs would go with her, because when I got a new office, I took my very nice chairs with me from my old office to my new office.
Well, somebody liked chartreuse enough to buy those chairs. Okay, Nina says, and this will be the only thing the last thing we're gonna say about Frigid, because we're letting the signs speak for us. Actually, Louise loves her sign, and she identifies with it so much that she's sleeping with it right now. Ran out of patience. The first 2 episodes wrapped us into a big pink marshmallow of rainbow-colored domestic bliss, more or less, because Frankie moved out. And then nothing for 5 weeks now. That's 3 years in Lizzie weeks. We don't know where Frankie is. How's her little sister? How's her relationship with her dad?
What's happening with that?
Who's sleeping on the left side of the bed, or does it not matter? I want answers. I put on my lucky undies for answers. Good luck, Nene.
Send pictures, Nene.
You may have to wear those lucky undies for a while, so in the end you can send them to Piper. They'll be nice and right for her to sell. Yes. Okay.
If she's still around.
Jane, thank you so much. I love having a lawyer in the family. For sending us the explanation in depth and at length about why there are legal and ethical concerns with Maxine giving her sperm to Boomer. Now, Jane was talking about it in the context of Maxine dying first, because if Boomer has to wait to get the sperm and after she gets released, then if Maxine dies before that, then that's the complication that she anticipates. And she is wondering whether if Maxine bequeaths the sperm in the will, if it will be binding.
Yes, yeah.
And also...
and why wouldn't it be? It's her sperm.
So here's
the thing. Sounds so funny to say it's her sperm.
Here's the thing, that in Australia there are different kinds of laws, and in fact there are different kinds of laws in different states in Australia. But Australia puts the highest priority on the child's ability to meet and know their biological parents. So the other question is, and she says that as far as she knows, there's no precedence to it, of somebody leaving their sperm to a person who is not their partner. Whether or not they're same sex or opposite sex doesn't matter. Now I think, I'm not going to go into all this explanation, but I think that if there's not precedence, that it could go to the Australian Supreme Court, and then we can do a spin-off, and Frankie can star in it, and it can be like all the Chicago shows. It could be like Wentworth Law. So we have Bridget,
all my sperm.
We have Bridget Westfall, forensic psychologist, as a spin-off. We have Wentworth Law starring Frankie, and of course they'll do 3-way crossovers. This has Dick Wolford all over it. Just saying.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Jane. Thank you so much. Now, Jane also says, in the conversation between Vera and Bridget in the staff room, Bridget makes the comment that Bea hasn't been the same since the fire, and the proctor is taking advantage of her, which raises that question again. Why doesn't Bea have mandatory counseling with Bridget? And even if not for her own good, for her own like personal well-being, even though they do see that something's wrong with her, why doesn't she meet Bridget on a regular basis so that Bridget can help and guide her as to how to deal with a psychopath? Because they know that Joan is a danger to everybody, yes, and that Bea is the only person. You see she sees the cracks, so Ferguson must see the cracks as well. Well, then,
no. She's the top dog. She should be protected, and
she should be helped.
Helped, exactly. Especially because Vera knows how important she is, and I just can't believe that they've sort of left her hanging on her own.
Yep. We asked ourselves, and actually there was a lot of call and response in these emails. Some people were asking questions that the other emails were answering. I love that, and we actually were asking questions that other people were answering, and this is one of them. Jane, being our Aussie insider, we love her for it, and for many other reasons, including our magazine with Bridget on the cover.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. So we were asking, why does Sonia get to wear her own clothes? What's the deal with that? So apparently, and she answered without us even asking, I don't know if it's the same in the U.S., but prisoners who are on remand are able to wear their own clothes, which is why Sonia is wearing her own clothes and why Joan was wearing hers when she was in isolation. So,
what does on remand mean exactly?
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jane, that on remand means while you're awaiting trial, because all the other girls have been tried and sentenced and they're in prison and they have to wear their uniforms, whereas
instead
Sonia
of being released on her own recognizance, not recognizance.
Well, they wouldn't release her because she's in for suspected murder, but they don't have a body yet. And
habeas corpus, baby.
Right, so I guess on remand means that she's there while the trial is going on. So, thank you.
Or before the trial is set.
Right. I really like her character, and I think that she's going to be able to hold her own in prison in her own way. The way she was interacting with Boomer, calling her Shrek after she called her Minnie Mouse, and not letting Tina try to vote twice.
She shows no fear, and that's very important in prison.
And this is going to be, I hope, that in many, many cases, this might be the key to diffusing some situations or being the game changer in certain situations. Because right now she is kind of like Minnie Mouse. She walks around, she's in her own little clothes. She doesn't want to blend in. She's wary of the water. You know, she's very much like
Yes, but she doesn't show fear of anything.
She doesn't show fear. She doesn't show discomfort. She doesn't show at all any kind of need for adjustment for prison. She's there. She's doing her own thing. So,
but she pitches in.
Oh, absolutely. You know. She's actually very engaged. You know, she took on that vote. She was happy to do it.
I love her.
Yeah. So, but I know
she's a breath of fresh air. She really is.
Yeah. And I can see her in very, very, as they said with regards to the vote, she's neutral. Even though Kaz is new as well, she's certainly not neutral, but Sonia is. And I can see her in very, very big, dramatic situations between the camps, being the one in the center who could possibly be the game changer.
Or diffuse things.
Diffuse or
push things over to the other way.
Yeah. Okay. When B and Maxine, this is something that I also saw and wanted to point out, so thank you, Jane, for pointing it out. When B and Maxine talk about Maxine not wanting to have the surgery, Maxine offers, she even actually challenges B to talk her out of it. Mm-hmm. And B says nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe because she respects Maxine's decision, or maybe it's because she just doesn't have the energy to deal with it. But I thought it was also very, very blatant that she completely just did not try to change her mind at all.
You do what you know, it's not my business.
Yeah, you die.
It's not my business.
I think Boomer's character, who says things how they are, often without an awareness as to how they impact other people, was the perfect character to discover the truth about Maxine's choice and to confront her about it. Anyone else, for example, Liz or Doreen, most likely would have said something that was politically correct and sensitive, and that they respected her decision. But Boomer just says it like it is. And it reminded Jane of a time when she heard people who decided against treatment and wanted to scream and cry, but hasn't. That is a very, very excellent point, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And a lot of
now
people,
you know what to do next time it happens.
Yeah, just scream and cry. Yeah. I love Boomer for what she did.
It was a magnificent scene between the two of them. It was so beautifully written. The balance was just perfect.
And it changed her mind, because I was very, very worried that they were going to follow the story as, you know, Maxine not having her operation. And actually, the fact that she decided to keep taking her hormones.
That was her compromise.
Right.
I'm sorry, I have something in my eye.
And that allows her to stay in a women's prison, and we don't have to worry about her being transferred, even though I don't think there should have ever been a question about, so what if she doesn't take hormones? Women who are after menopause don't have as much estrogen. Do they think of transferring them to male prisons? No. But I'm happy that she found a way to, you know, do it her way and still do the best that she can to survive, because I'm not ready to let go of Maxine.
Oh, no, Maxine. I can't imagine life in that prison without Maxine, because Maxine is also the voice of reason.
And a huge part of the heart.
Huge part of the heart of it. And she keeps things in a very good balance, and B listens to her.
Yeah. Now, here is an example of how closely you all watch Wentworth. We made this point last week about how closely you watch the show. This is
such scrutiny.
This is it, okay, people? Jane. I did have a bit of a problem with the continuity of the scene. When Boomer approaches Maxine, we see her painting her nails, which would then be wet, but we then see Maxine put her hands together and then on top of Boomer's, and then she hugs Boomer. Unless she has super quick drying nail polish, I think it would have taken longer to dry. Jane. I am calling the writers on this. This is negligent.
Just relax, honey. They got a lot of things to worry about.
Point. I think I've rest my case.
But it certainly is observant of it.
Jane says that B must have watched her vlog last week, because she says I want a written guarantee, and yes, she's exactly.
That was my suggestion to Liz.
Take note. Yes. Okay, so many of you have raised the question. Kaz blamed B for shopping her to the cops. Why hasn't B or anybody...
Turning her in, for those of you who don't.
Yeah. For being the reason, basically, that she's in prison because she turned her in. Why has nobody at any point, including Allie, as some of you pointed out, Allie is emotionally involved with the person who supposedly she thinks put her in jail. Somebody should have already asked. Somebody should have, especially Allie and B, they're so close, Allie should have asked her. So this is...
Has Kaz expressed this out loud so that B could say,
she told her.
I had nothing to do with this.
She told her, you shot me to the cops. That's what she said.
And B didn't say, I had nothing to do with it. Did she?
I don't recall
it. No.
If you can hear a very annoying buzzing in the background, we're very sorry. Our annoying neighbors are doing some yard work, and there's nothing
Sunday.
we can do about it.
Some people work.
As if they don't do it during the week. During the week they hammer and they do nail guns and shit. And I don't like Neighbours. Not the Australian show. I actually like Neighbours, the Australian show. The beautiful scene between B and Allie. Allie giving B vitamin E. Yes. As Jane says, symbolically to heal both her heart and her legs.
It was such an intimate scene.
Yeah.
It was more intimate than sex when she put
cream on her leg,
the vitamin E on her
and
cuts.
B showing her that the scars are healing because she, it appears, hasn't done any new cuts. So really beautiful.
It started off funny too when she said, "You always come in when I drop my pants."
When I have my pants down.
Was Allie the one who said, "I can hear pants dropping from"?
Yeah, of course.
Love it.
Okay. Let's see. Kaz, in the preview for next week, which was very intense, Kaz looks like she might be doubting the Freak's plan, saying that she can't kill a woman. It doesn't make sense to me that the Freak would kill B herself. After all, she is awaiting trial.
Excuse me? You want to stay in jail for the rest of your life?
But perhaps she tries to get at B by harming Allie. And then she also wonders if the infamous panic button will end up being the thing that will save B's life, ironically. However,
unless they ignore it, which is what they've sort of foreshadowed.
Saying that it was a security breach that everybody pressed the panic button. And so it's like the
boy who cried wolf.
Right. Let's see. Now, also Jane points out the next episode is called Plan B, B-E-A, obviously after B's character, but also as a Plan B, as in Plan A didn't work out, so we have to go along with Plan B. So I wonder what Plan B might be.
Far be it from me to hazard a guess.
I was thinking that maybe this comes out, the fact that Joan was the one who shopped her to the cops and not B, in next episode, and that it either causes the Freak to turn on the right hand, or that Kaz turns on the Freak, which might be the lead to a Plan B. Who knows? We shall see.
Anyway, she can't just be allowed to run riot. Something has got to be done.
Well, and as Jane concludes
to give
her
us
email,
some satisfaction.
I actually hope that the Freak leaves general population and goes into the psych section or protection, because as much as I love Pamela Rabe, I'm a bit over the Ferguson storyline at the moment, echoing all of our sentiments. Anne says...
Well, except for one particularly
Pamela
Rabe fan. And we all love her, but enough is enough.
Anne says that the top crew would have never allowed a vote, and women actually thrive on the structure of prison. That's why recidivism or parole violation rates are so high. When parolees are released back into the environment from which they came, there is no structure. Parolees still have poor social networks, addictions, maladaptive thinking, and faulty cognitions, etc. If life was easy for them on the outside, they wouldn't have committed a crime in the first place. I would love to be seeing the true struggles Frankie would be facing on parole. Hopefully we can get some of that. But everything sounds very, very true. However, if we are talking about people with maladaptive thinking and faulty cognitions, I can certainly see them voting against their own interests just because somebody incited them to do so.
Well, it is a drama, too. We do have to have dramatic license to do things that perhaps aren't the way things happen in real life.
Yes, but I do see them doing things that in their minds could be good for them, but are not. Because I don't think all people at all times think, oh, this is bad for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. They think, oh, this is going to be good for me, even though it's really bad for them.
I don't think Orange is the New Black has a top dog. I mean, I know
Piper is trying to be,
but she's not really.
Also, this is not a maximum security prison.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Litchfield
yes.
is a...
and we saw the differences between that and where Natasha Lyonne's
so
character, right. Okay, Edith, and by the way, I have to say, Edith, I feel such a sense of pride getting emails from Edith because Edith came to our vlog as an Orphan Black fan, and after I think the 15th time we kept saying, watch Wentworth on our vlog, she finally tuned into Wentworth, and now she's a diehard fan who writes emails to Talking Teal, so I feel like we've contributed to the world.
We have Hola Edith.
Hola Edith. Okay, does it make me a bad person that I really want to slap Doreen sometimes? Honey, get in line. No, it does not. She also says Ferguson with her power to manipulate anybody in any situation is the scariest and most awesome thing ever. I'm very excited to see what she will do next. I really think you're the only one at this point, at least from the people we hear from.
I understand your thinking, but it's been too much. That's why I think that's where I think the mistake lies.
Yeah.
This is how we should feel.
Yes.
This is the way we should feel. We should be anticipating with great wariness and fear. What will she do next? Instead of, oh, now what's she going to do?
Because we know also that she'll do the same thing. And she keeps doing the same thing. I do have to say, though, that as it turns out, some groups of very, very strong, staunch Pamela Rape fans are still happy with the plot and do not like it when people object to it. But, you know, we have to say...
we don't want to see her leave, but we do want to see her put a little bit more on the back burner.
Not
get away with everything. I mean, we're reiterating. We're
we're not
talking
but I'm just saying that this is not anything against Pamela. It's about the storyline.
My God, she's a magnificent actress.
You know, speaking of... I'm going back a second because I forgot to say something. Speaking of fans, I've discovered a very disturbing fan fiction society that's called Freaky Tits. And it's all about the Joan with vinegar teats, Vera, a.k.a. Vera. Fan fiction about the two of them together.
I can see it.
Interesting.
Because
she could crush her if she rolled over.
That's what we said, right. She rolled over in the middle of the end of Vera. But there was a little frisson between them in the season before last.
Season 3, I think, or season 2 was it? Anyway,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, she does.
They had a little weird chemistry.
She does still wear her bun after her, so
little bun. Yes, but Joan doesn't wear her big bun anymore.
No,
that's
interesting. She has ponytails to
That's
twirl.
a symbol of her reduction in status.
Well, of course. Eva says about Sonia that she's kind of quiet, but when she needs to, she shows her claws. I think we haven't even begun to scratch the surface. And also, Eva wonders how is Kaz going to behave when she finds out about Bea and Allie. And I think it was so stupid of Allie to think that was good timing to tell her.
It wasn't stupid of her. It was emotional.
Yes,
it was impulsive. I don't
Kaz
think
just
anything
tossed her
Allie
entire
does is completely stupid. But yeah,
it was not smart. Let's put it that way. And I'm happy that Bea stopped her.
It was not smart.
Bea stopped her short. Elizabeth, who being our third Swede, now refers to herself as Elizabeth the Third, says that she noticed a couple of things that I never even questioned. Bridget standing behind Vera looking at Ferguson on CCTV and asking, are there any developments? She's asking what kind of developments, and Vera doesn't answer that question. And you know, I thought, well, are there any developments with Joan being in general population? But actually, we don't know what kind of developments she's referring to. Maybe Vera and Bridget have had some liaisons off screen, and they have something in mind.
Something planned. Maybe there's some plan of action that they've implemented that we know nothing about. Interesting.
Also, Elizabeth noticed that Jake gives Vera some transfer papers. She doesn't remember the names of the inmates, and actually I don't think they meant much to me when I saw it. But she has the feeling that Vera's plan is to split the Red Right Hand crew up, which would be very smart.
Yes.
I don't know where she would transfer them, which I don't know where she could.
I don't know. Cell block.
Cell block? That's not enough.
Well, that's true.
My point is, though, I don't know where she could transfer them that she couldn't transfer Joan as well to the same place. Just saying. Okay, Jenna says that...
Is this the first time Jenna's written to us?
Yes, it's the first time Jenna's
Welcome,
written
Jenna.
to us. Welcome, Jenna. And also Heather was the first time that Heather wrote. She says, I love Allie and B and I love Allie and B and Bally. However, I'm not completely trusting them yet because my concern is that Allie didn't tell B that she overheard Ferguson tell Kaz that B needs to be taken out. I don't remember that, but if that actually happened, then I am. Why didn't she say it? Though I
can't
feel
imagine that she wouldn't have done that.
I feel Allie is legit. And remember, there are things that we don't see.
Allie is totally legit. I have no doubts about Allie's true feelings.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a plant. I think she's in love with B.
I just want to call out a few of my favorite scenes. Jackson shutting down Jake, you need that protein powder more than I do. Because I felt creepy. B inviting Doreen to get a taste of democracy and the laundry press. Kez's meltdown in the cell after she was sentenced to 12 years.
The least she should have done.
Fantastic. Maxine standing naked in front of the mirror and crying. Beautiful.
Good breasts, too.
Very good prosthetics.
Yes, my compliments to the makeup department.
Yes. You know, and another thing about Bridget always being in the prison, somebody pointed it out already, and I want to reiterate it. We always see her in a very professional, reserved,
capacity.
Kind of pulled together capacity, and I miss my little...
her warmth and her humor. And,
I mean, when Frankie was in prison, at least we got
flirted.
to... Yeah, at least we got to see that. But now that she's all professional all the time.
Very tight. She's like a little... like a little toy soldier.
I miss seeing her listen up. She's so adorable.
She has such reserves of warmth and kindness. We need to see more of that. Her compassion and her humor. We really need that.
Yeah, I miss it.
We need more Bridget. We need more of her in every possible way.
Yeah.
We really do. She is a very important character, and Libby Tanner delivers with everything she's given.
I don't know if we ever mentioned it. Okay, we've come to the point. We've come to the challenge. So, I promised to you in the past, some of you who were with us last year saw us doing dub smashes with season 3 lines, which are still on there. I'll show you how to get there.
I have a free slot this afternoon. Do you want me to fill it?
And I promised you that I would do season 4 dub smashes, and I did.
She did many of them.
I did many, and I'm going to tell you.
She spent a long time. I thought she was talking to herself. I was quite worried.
I'm going to tell you what I have so far, and of course, as the season, as new lines come in, I'll do them. Someone's got to feed the cat. Here, puss, 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 puss. It's time to feed puss. It's fucking governor.
Fucking governor.
You truly are a cunt. Hey, Spunky. Hey, baby. Some of them are for one person. Some of them are for two people. I can smell her on you. You fucked the wrong lunatic. What happened to Frankie? And I did include the sniff before that, so you'll have to sniff. No one's eating anyone's pussy juice. Battered old cunt.
Do you detect a theme here?
It's not me. It's Wentworth. Yo,
yes, but you picked him.
Yo, this is Nova Can't See. Everything I do is for you girls, you fucking cow. That could come in handy.
I love that.
I can hear pants falling a mile away. Pop a bottle of shampoo. And the one that we're going to do right now, we're going to do it in front of you to show you how to do it.
It's very hard, though. The timing is quite difficult.
Yes, and for example, something like the Joan line with the battered old cunt, that's really advanced stuff. That's very hard. Now, here's how you get to dubs. First of all, you have to download the Dub Smash app, and then when you download it, what you do is you go to this button, and I have screenshots to show you. You go to the magnifying glass, which is the search button, and you search for Wentworth Season 4. You can also search for Wentworth Season 3 because I've created what they call our soundboard. Soundboard for Season 3 and soundboard for Season 4.
My wife is very technologically advanced.
Everything's relative. So season 3 has all fabulous lines that you can also go back on our Instagram page and see us do some stuff. So you can go to season 3, but if you want to go to season 4, you do Wentworth season 4, and then you find my soundboard. I'm Sunshine Leon on there, and then you find all of these different dub smashes. And now you go to the dub smash. So we're going to be doing this one. You click on it, and then what you do is basically you insert yourself lip syncing the lines. Okay. So we're going to do our favorite dub smash, okay? You ready?
I'm more or less ready.
This might take a few takes.
I should have done the other part because I'm so hoarse.
But you love the other part.
I know.
Ah! Okay, see, we already ruined that. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Now you can go back and redo it because this was bad. Okay, so we're going to do it again. Let's see if that worked.
Oh, that was good.
Mine wasn't that great, but yours was. Let's do it again.
Linda Miles is a hoot.
Yes, she is fun, isn't she?
All right, we're going to let you see the end product. This is probably not our best one because it's
pretty
so
good.
hard.
It's very difficult because the timing is very weird.
But we are going to grant access, yes. So then after you do that, you can share it. You can just save it to your camera roll. But I urge you to share it and tag us on it because I would love to retweet it and share it with others.
Absolutely.
Last year we did a whole bunch of them. Everybody joined in. It was so much fun.
Yes,
so,
it was fun, wasn't it?
So please join us, do your own dub smashes, and share them with us. It's going to be so much fun. I challenge you. And if you are a Wentworth cast member or a creative crew member who happens to be watching,
yes,
we urge you to join in the fun and share it with all of us. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of your dub smashes this week.
Yes, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week after episode
Teal 8, which I think is going to be extremely intense. Thanks again for all of your emails, and thanks for tuning in, and we love you all. Have fun.
Bye.